First, they ignore you. Then, they laugh at you. Then, they fight you. And finally, you win. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Combined Package. Today, here I am with a speech on Be the Change You Want to See in Others, said by Gandhiji. So, without any further ado, let's start the video. Most of us have heard this quote by Gandhi, and many of us have been imbibed it in our lives. However, not many know the story behind it. So let's go for the story behind it first. Hundreds of visitors came to meet Gandhi every day. One day, a woman came with her son to meet Gandhi. She wanted him to speak to her son about his habit of eating sugar. After listening to her, Gandhi asked the woman to come with her son after 2 weeks. She was surprised that Gandhi, without speaking to her son, had asked them to come after 2 weeks. She was confused but reluctantly went back. The mother and son came back 2 weeks later and waited for a few hours before they got to meet Gandhi. On persistent request by the woman, Gandhi agreed to speak to her son. He explained to the boy why eating sugar was not good for him and how he should get rid of this habit. The mother thanked Gandhi for counseling her son, but could not help asking him why he hadn't done the same when they were there 2 weeks ago. Gandhi explained to the woman that when they had visited him earlier, he too had this habit of eating sugar, and that he could not ask anyone to leave something when he himself was addicted to it. Now that he had given up his sugar eating habit, he was morally in a position to explain the perils of eating sugar to the child. This tells us that change begins with you. The lesson learned from that story is that if you want to see a change in the society, that change must happen in you first. When you are trying to teach something to somebody, it is important that you too abide by that teaching. Practice what you preach, as they say. Unless you do that, there will not be any conviction in what you teach people, and people may not take you seriously. The best leaders and reformers in the world are men and women of principles. They take the responsibility and accountability for the change they want to see in the world. The commitment for change has to come from within. And when there is commitment, there is no place for any excuse. There are many ways to make a positive difference in the lives of the people, and there are many things we can do to make our lives more meaningful. Everyone is capable of doing it, but before we think about the society, we have to bring about the change in ourselves. That is, if we want to change the world, we need to change ourselves first. Gandhi is a revered personality who has inspired human rights movement across the world. He led simple life which had no room for violence and preached the same to the world. The quote, "You must be the change you want to see in this world," is attributed to Gandhi and is probably the most frequently used statement. The simplicity of the statement has a universal appeal. It is easy to understand what the statement wants to portray, and everyone can relate to it. The phrase "be the change" puts the onus for change on you. You have to be at the center of the change you want to see in others. And for that, there has to be honesty of commitment. When you wholeheartedly want to see the world in a particular state and your desire to accomplish that is strong enough, you have to show the determination and put all your efforts to reach your goal. When this happens, it is immaterial whether you are the leader or the follower in the quest to bring about this positive change. Leaders can only show us the way, but the effort has to be collective and every participant has to think of himself as being the center of that change. No change is possible unless you want it and you are ready to change yourself for the larger goal. You have to make the change happen. There is no point wanting or wishing it would happen. The change does not necessarily have to be big nor needs to encompass a lot of people. Even a small change can make a big difference. The motivation to bring about a change is what really matters. For instance, if you want people to be happy, then you have to be happy yourself. It is often seen that people blame others for their unhappiness and find fault in them. You have to change your attitude towards others and stop blaming them for your miseries. You also have to make sure that you don't hurt them by your actions. It's only then that people in whom you want to bring about this change can take inspiration from you and inculcate this habit. It does not matter how many people you influence for the good. What is important is that you make a sincere effort. As Gandhi said, whatever you do will be insignificant, but it is very important that you do it. So, we must have a commitment to change. When your desire to bring about a change is strong, you will have to make a commitment to yourself that you will go all out and take every possible step to achieve that goal. If you have the conviction, then you will be able to overcome whatever challenges or difficulties that might come your way. There are bound to be obstacles in your path, but your determination and perseverance will take you through. For instance, in the example cited above about making people happy, you may come across a person who is a tough nut to crack. He could be totally against you and might even be abusive and might rebuff all your overtures. The key here is to not get disheartened but continue with your efforts to convince the person. If you ignore him because you feel humiliated by his actions, then shows a lack of commitment on your part. If you are committed towards making people happy, you will not stop short of making any effort that might be required to achieve your goal. Gandhi's philosophy on change continues to inspire millions of people even today. So here we are with the conclusion that there have only been a handful of leaders who could influence change to the extent and scale Mahatma Gandhi could. He led by example and lived the life he wanted others to follow. Many great leaders from around the world, such as Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and Dalai Lama, who all came after Gandhi, have taken inspiration from him in leading their movement and struggles for change in their own respective ways. So that's all for this today's speech. Thank you for watching. To like, share, and subscribe.